אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ. אל ייתן למוט רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל, אדוני שומרך. אדוני צילך על יד מבינך, יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמרך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמר צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם.
It's from the book of Psalms. It starts, Esa Einai, I lift up my eyes, El Hacharim, and I look out to the hills. Me'ayin yavo Ezri, what's supposed to be the source of my help? And the psalmist answers, Ezri me'im Adonai, that help is supposed to come from God. Osei Shamayim va'aretz, the great maker of heaven and earth. We here at Congregation Micah have learned that help also comes from a supportive community, from loved ones. My name is Philip Rice. I'm one of the rabbis here at Congregation Micah. I'm joined by Cantor Josh Goldberg, and together we stand before you after you having experienced the shadow of a loss. Death has taken Rinah Shalom. And you all, her community, her family, her friends, grieve. And even though the sun is shining quite bright, the world feels a little darker. In moments of silence, there are feelings of fear or sadness. In some of your tears, there is a certain loneliness. And knowing that many of you are filled with sorrow, it's my hope that this service will bring, if nothing else, a fitting tribute to Rinah and a greater sense of her community. It's my hope that here each of you will find the presence of other loving people. And so I pray that God be with each of you, for Rinah's love that united you with her in life and which death cannot sever, for the companionship that you shared with her along your life's path, which will continue through the tenderness of memory, and for the many gifts of her heart and her mind and her soul that brought each of you any sense of happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For these things and more, the Jewish people are taught to give thanks. Give thanks to this eternal Osei Shamayim Ba'aretz, great maker of heaven and earth. And so it is that in times of grief, we Jews listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures, to the wisdom of the Torah, to our ancestors before us, because they bring an ever new message of God's nearness. They tell of a kinship with this Creator in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, and in life as in death. Psalm 23.
Adonai roi lo echsar Bihinot deshe yarbitzeni Halmei menuchot Yenahaleini Nafshi yeshovev Yancheini b'maglei tzedek Yancheini b'maglei tzedek Leman shemo Gam ki elech begeitz al mavet Lo ira ra ki ata himadi Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni Taroch lefanai Shulchan neged zorerai Dishanta vashemen roshi Kosi revaya Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni Kol yemei chayai V'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim Adonai roi lo echsar Adonai roi lo echsar.
The psalm will sound more familiar in English. The Lord is my shepherd, so I shall not want. Making me lie down in green pastures, leading me beside still waters, restoring my soul. Leading me in straight paths for the sake of the name, so that when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because I know you're with me. Your rod and your staff meant to comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and so my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, when I too dwell in your house forever. There's this biblical character, Jacob, and he has this encounter in the Bible where he wrestles with another person, an angel, and he changes his name. He's given the name Yisrael, to struggle. And many years later, Jacob finds himself in Egypt on his deathbed. And he's surrounded by his children and grandchildren. And Joseph, his youngest, steps forward and says, Dad, we're going to miss you. And Jacob, the father, says, oh, I'm going to miss you too. My time has come, and I have to tell you I'm afraid. And Joseph, with all the kids there, said, afraid? What do you have to be afraid of? You wrestled with God. God knows you. God will take care of you. And Jacob says, oh, I'm not afraid for me. I'm afraid for you. You see, you don't live in this special place they call Israel. You live in Egypt. Egypt's a very seductive place. It's like the United States of America. I don't want you to not consider the bond you have with Jews everywhere. I don't want you to forget the oneness we believe in God. And it's at that point that Joseph steps forward and says these famous words. He says, Shema Yisrael. He says, listen, Dad. Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. We know there's one God in heaven and earth. And in a softer voice, the words not in the Bible, but we say afterwards, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed. Blessed be that name now and forever. We know Rinah was very into her Judaism. She studied, she learned, she grew, she loved Kabbalah. And in tribute, we invite you to sing with us these ancient words that connect us through time and space to Jews of all places. They are the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
And finally, we share with you the words of Kohelet, book of Ecclesiastes, who speaks of a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and even a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. There's a time to be silent and a time to speak. In a short while, we will take some silence, but right now we're going to take some time to speak about Rinah. And maybe if Trini and Angel are brave enough, they'll come do that first. Or maybe they won't. All right, they're coming up.
I didn't prepare for anything for today, but my sister and I want to say we're going to keep it short and sweet, just like my mom was short and sweet. I'm going to read this part. My mom had a few simple things for life. Love your family, keep your faith strong, don't waste anything, and when in doubt, always pick the red one. Out of everything she did in her life, the most important thing to me was choosing to be my mom. She adopted me and loved me like I was her own from day one. I never felt like anything less, and that's the kind of love that stays with you forever.
And it wasn't just me or Angel. She had a way of making so many people feel like the mother I've heard from, especially after she passed. I've reached out to a lot of people and had a lot of people experience that say, she was like a mother to me, and that was one of the things she loved doing. She loved being a mother. She raised 4 generations. Don't know how she had it in her, but she did. But she loved the feeling of family. And I feel like with her being younger and living in Israel and moving to the United States, she started with nothing to the point where she has created so many beautiful people and beautiful children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And I think she is proud of every single person she has affected and allowed to change in her life. Like, I just recently found out she used to marry people together, and the last person that she married, they're still together. about 40 years later, and she's always had a touch with love. And so I just believe that, she used to always say, you don't need anything expensive, don't need anything fancy. The main thing is being around family. That was her main thing, and she just cared about being around all of us, no matter all of our differences. She loved all of us and always knew how to get us to get along and the right things to say.
I don't think you're ever ready to lose your mom, and I know I wasn't, but I feel so lucky and so blessed to have had her and to be loved by her. So wherever you are, Mom, I hope they've got something red waiting for you.
And some Dr. Pepper. And to Mom, Lila Tov, I love you.
Love you, Mom.
Thank you both so much. It's always nice when people who are close to the person really can express personal memories. It's been said that you can kiss your family and your friends goodbye. You can put miles between you. But at the same time, you carry with them in your heart, in your mind, and in your soul. Because you do not just live in a world lives in you. The world that Rinah lived in was filled with you all, with family and friends, with animals and plants and classical music and the study of our great tradition, Judaism, Kabbalah, its mystical aspects. Soon I'll invite you to join us as we lay her in her final resting place. And if you walk through our cemetery, like you would almost any cemetery graveyard, you would see markers. You'll see gravestones. And often the markers have the day when someone was born, and then a dash, and then the day when someone has died. So one day there'll be a marker for Rinah, 11/28/40 dash 3/12/26. The most telling part of Rinah's life is actually the dash. It's not that magical day in Tiberia and Tiberias, Israel, that she was born, and it's not that hard day this past week on which she died. The most telling part of her life is how she lived on the days in between those 2 days. Now, I did not know Rinah, but from what her family told me yesterday, I get the sense that she was pretty feisty, that she was vibrant, that she had a good sense of humor and was honest and faithful. You all told me she was optimistic. I get a sense she did a good job of living out her dash. I'm told she was stubborn, a bit opinionated. Most of us Jews are. As well as passionate and loving and grounded. A Sabra, born in Israel. She grew up on a kibbutz, and she came to our country at age 18 as a graduation present. She arrived in Cleveland, Ohio, and for some reason she stayed. It was where she was educated, where she met a certain clarinet player, one who would become professional. She was married to Douglas Cornelson for 20 years before divorcing. They spent time living in Washington, D.C., and in Cincinnati, and in Detroit, and Rinah eventually moved here in 2018. I'm told she was a well-spoken woman, someone who knew how to handle certain situations, often difficult ones, and no doubt that she loved her family. That's clear. Enjoyed spending quality time with them, loved it when everyone was getting along. And she always took the time to make sure everyone was okay. Always positive. Not really expressing all the worries or complaining. The truth is, though, we'll never really fully know what Rinah's world was like on the inside. Just like we can only know our own personal worlds. But what we can do is take the good parts of her world and make them a part of our world, a part of us. In Hebrew, the phrase is zikrona livracha, that her memory shall live on as a blessing. So how does that work? How do memories bless us? Well, they bless us when we have them, when we share them with others. So when, I don't know, you're eating at a Cracker Barrel, or if you're having sushi, which you liked, and you think of her, then she lives on. Or if you see a tomato at Publix, and you remember, oh, that green thumb, she could make that into a whole plant of tomatoes, then her memory lives on. When you sense her presence and you embrace it, and you tell the stories, then her memories bless us. They become part of ourselves. We take her best qualities, the vibrancy, the passion, the honesty, qualities that you know far better than I, and we take them on into our personalities, because then Rinah lives on in us. So what are the things you'll remember the most? I invite you to think back and to recall some of those moments. The Passover or Hanukkah celebrations, the trips to Israel, here in the United States, to the cruise to the Bahamas. We have spoken briefly about Rinah, and we will continue to speak, to share memories and to tell stories, to enable her to still bless us through memory. There are moments, as Ecclesiastes points out, that require speaking, and there are moments that require silence. And so we're going to take a little silence now.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי וגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וקולי Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. O say shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen.
Rinah is preceded in death by her parents, Ruth and Isaac Hittim, by her granddaughter, Brooke Rebecca Gracel. She's survived by her siblings, her sister Shuli and her husband David Dembro, her brother David and his wife Chantal Grains, and sister Rachel and her husband Jacob Mashiach. She has daughters, Leora, who's here, Mira, Nina, Angel, and Trini. Grandchildren, Rachel, Ariel, Jalen, Bradley, Spencer, and Haley. And great-grandchildren, Grace, Kai, Gianna, and Kinley. Right now, we're going to, in a moment, invite you to rise for the recitation of what's called El Malei Rachamim, that asks that God protect her soul. And then after that, we are going to take Rinah out back onto the cemetery on our property. And we're going to do the final act of kindness that we do for our dead. We're going to bury her. Everyone is invited to partake in that ritual. Nobody has to. We'll invite you to wait until her daughters escort her out first, and then you follow behind us. If you don't mind, will you please rise?
El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanefei Hashchina Im Keroshim Utehorim Kezohar Harakia Mashirim Et Nishmat Rinah Shalom Shelcha Le'olama Bal HaRachamim Yastireiha Beseiter Kenafav Le'olamim V'yizror Mitzror HaChaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, we ask that you grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Rinah Shalom, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. As God is her inheritance, may she rest in peace, and together we say, Amen.
Amen.